moving on to the power sector, as Nigeria's government hands over power assets to the private sector, it is offering a window of opportunity for private equity and other investors to invest in what many are calling Nigeria's next high-growth sector. Joining me in the studios now to discuss investing in Nigeria's power sector is Solomon Adegbe-Ekweno, the IFC Nigeria country manager. Solomon, thank you very much for joining us. So we've now seen those assets handed over to the private sector. It's a milestone in Nigeria's power industry. So the next big thing is the type of investments that can come, and I imagine the IFC is a company that would be looking into that space. What's your appetite for that sector right now, given what has happened so far?
Okay, so Wally, thanks a lot for the clarification, because initially you mentioned the Africa Finance Corporation. I represent the International
Finance Corporation. I beg your pardon.
Which is the private sector arm of the World
Absolutely.
Bank. We are very confident really about the policies in the power sector that the government has put in place for the reforms, and we've been working with the government on this for the past, the past 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
We've also been having advanced conversations with a lot of the winners of the assets, especially on the distribution side, and we've also been talking to potential private partners on generation. And so the handover of the assets is really, a critical step in the whole process, but we're very confident really about the prospects. We hope to invest up to, we hope to support an addition of 1,500 megawatts of new capacity. And if you look at that relative to the current capacity of 4,000 megawatts, that's almost 40% addition over the next 12 to 24 months. We intend to also support 3 to 4 distribution companies because ultimately that's the entry really for the sector cash flows. In addition, we have to look at the whole gas to power value chain. So we're also looking at projects in gas. As you know, transmission continues to be government owned. If ultimately there are PPPs on the transmission side, we're looking to support it. Right. So we're very confident really about the prospects in the power sector.
Would you be putting debt or equity though in some of these transactions, or
Yes.
will it be a bit of both?
It's a combination of both. We're looking to put both equity and debt. But when you look at IFC, our main mandate is to crowd in private investment. So it's not so much the amount we put in, but the confidence we provide to
Right.
crowd in, additional private investors.
Right.
And so what we want to do is work on some of the early projects to create really a demonstration impact and create models that can be replicated to the rest of the distribution sector in terms of financing, but also to the generation sector, including the future NIPP projects, as well as also gas.
Right. And what's the appetite though? How much money do you think will be following this sector as it moves along? Of course, you backing or being invested in some projects, as you mentioned, should catalyze some investment into projects. So how much would you say is sitting on the sidelines that could be coming into this sector?
As a financial institution, we don't really, it all depends on the bankable projects that emerge, okay? So we don't have a set amount that we would look at, but what we're trying to do is target 3 to 4 of the distribution companies out of the 10 that have been privatized. So that's 40%.
Okay.
We're looking to, support potentially an addition of 40% capacity. So I think that's actually, quite large relative to the opportunity. But once again, what we're trying to do is to put in demonstration projects in terms of financing. We're looking to the companies that have taken over the assets now to take stock and come really with business plans. And on the basis of that business plan, we'll engage to really mobilize, help them mobilize the entire financing, to really completely finance those projects, CapEx programs over the next 3 to 5 years.
Right, so hopefully it will be a profitable entry into the sector. But what are the risks that you see that still worry you a little bit going into this? You mentioned transmission. Clearly that is still going to be government owned, and a lot of people have pointed to that as being a big issue.
First of all, I think government has set the right policies on the whole gas to power value chain, whether it's transmission or gas. What we're all anxiously waiting for is more the execution of those policies.
Right.
And so the two areas where the execution, the potential execution risk does exist will be transmission and gas. But I think we have confidence, first of all, in the fact that government is making the right decisions, and we're going to also be partners to government in supporting this. You have to remember that it's, when we come in as the IFC, we come in as part of the World Bank Group. And so our sister institutions, the World Bank and MEGA, are supporting really the government as well in implementing those policies, but in addition providing risk mitigation instruments to help make the whole sector bankable and the projects we look at bankable.
Right. Are you concerned about the capacity though? It's pretty much a new industry
Yes.
for the private sector to get into, and as I recall with the telecom sector, we had to import quite a bit of talent to get it going. So is that something that concerns you as well, or do you think that the attractiveness of the sector will just bring the talent and the other capacity issues will resolve themselves as we go along?
I mean, we all have to be concerned, but not to a point where we think it's a risk that's insurmountable. Very clearly, it's an ambitious power sector reform program. Trying to privatize 10 to 11 distribution companies and 6 generation companies and 1 transmission company at the same time is quite ambitious.
And of course, we have another phase of
the
assets.
NIPP projects coming in. It's quite ambitious, but Nigeria is a big country. The demands are huge, but we do believe that a lot of the private sector players are looking to get technical partners. They either already have them or are seeking the right technical partnership. And so, ultimately, we feel that this is a risk that can actually be mitigated.
Right. Okay, well, we certainly hope so. But let's talk a bit about the other things the IFC is doing in Nigeria. Can you just give us a sense of your portfolio of investments and what's the next big thing for you? We know that you've recently were involved in issuing a Naira bond.
Yes.
So talk to us about what next.
So last year in Nigeria, our investment volume was $1.5 billion, of which half of that was financial markets, where we provide financing of different forms to banks and non-bank financial institutions, including insurance companies and also MFIs. But the other half really related to the real sector. One of the reasons we're very interested in the power sector is not really as an investment class on its own, but more because of the catalytic impact it has on making the rest of production in Nigeria competitive. So we do foresee our investments growing in the telecom area when it comes to from mortgages all the way to how do we create the housing stock. And so ultimately, I think, the real sector and the infrastructure sectors are sectors we're going to look at, but power is so important in ensuring that all those opportunities are competitive.
Right. And Solomon, as we round up, what will you say to those that are still looking from outside into Nigeria? Nigeria is seen as a big opportunity, but a big risk. What are you telling those people, given what you've seen so far, the type of projects you're involved in, the amount of money the IFC is putting into this country?
I mean, first of all, IFC is the largest, international financial institution in emerging markets. When we engage in a country and in a sector, I think the message we send is that we're confident and we have experience globally in power, and we are very comfortable that this is the time to really look at the Nigeria power sector.
Right.
There are some continuing risks, but we feel that these risks can be mitigated, and we will be looking to crowd in those investors that are sitting on the sidelines.
Well, thank you very much, Solomon, for joining us.